Hello, this is Lydia Francis from Bunyan Road Christian Fellowship. Thank you for joining us today. I was just wanted to ask the question, does God zoom? When we hear the word zoom, we may think of something going really fast or of a camera lens enlarging and bringing something into perspective. More recently, since the start of COVID, we now know Zoom to mean having virtual meetings. So we're not physically with that person, but we can see and converse with them. So, does God Zoom? Does God bring aspects of his plan for our lives into perspective? Enable us to have a better view and access the direction he is taking us? Does God come face to face with us? And if God does Zoom, what might we be bringing into our session with God? Sometimes when we come into a Zoom session, we sit so far away from the camera and that our background becomes prominent. So we then lose focus of what is going on in the session, and we start to focus on the background. We start thinking things like, oh, I like that wallpaper, or I didn't know she was into cats, or wow, she's got the same curtains as me. Sometimes when we come into the session with God, rather than focus on what God is doing and saying, we get distracted by what is going on around us, and we lose a part of what God is saying. Peter was the only disciple who was not distracted by the storm. So he was able to get out of the boat and go to Jesus. At other times, we may turn our camera off, and others are wondering, are they still there? Have they left the session? Can they hear what's being said? Have they gone to make a cup of tea? God is seeing us, but we're not seeing what God is doing because we're not completely turned on. There is a disconnection. We become like Samson in Judges 16:20 after they had shaved his hair. We shake as we did in past times, but there's no power behind it. In another session, we may be fully present, but then we get Zoom bombed, and that results in a disconnection. So maybe someone walks into the room behind us, or the dog starts jumping up on us or starts barking really loud, and that causes a disconnection. What are those situations that are resulting in a temporary disconnection between you and God? Try to choose a time and a place for your time with God when distractions are unlikely to happen. Then there's times when we are not positioned well enough to get the full benefit of the light. All others can see is that dark outline, the silhouette. We can be heard, but facial expressions and body language is lost. So some aspects of communication has not been reinforced. In Numbers 22:21-35, Balaam was not fully connected to what God was doing and would have killed his trusted donkey who was only trying to save his life. It was only when God shone the light and opened his eyes that he realized that he was the one who was out of position. On other occasions, we might look fully present and seem to fill the screen, yet It's not obvious that we are trying to hide something that is happening in the background. God knows and sees all. He wants us to bring everything into the session with him so it can be acknowledged and addressed. In Acts 5, Ananias and Sapphira thought they could hide information from God, and they paid the price. In Psalms 139, it asks, "Where can I go to hide from God?" We should seek to be completely open with God, and he will reveal aspects of ourselves that we are not aware of. When we meet with God, he wants us to be fully present, body, soul, mind, and spirit. Are we hearing God? Are we seeing him? Are we fully present in his presence? When God zooms, he's not virtual. He brings us into his presence. He brings us face to face with him, with the purpose of bringing into perspective his plan for our lives. Remember, he is calling us, so it is his agenda, not ours. Yet, we are the ones who will benefit. So I guess the question is not whether God zooms, but how do we present when we enter into the session with him? If we have lost that connection along the way, God is still waiting for us to reconnect to the most reliable broadband, his love, which never fails and always maintains a connection. So, are you ready for that better view, that enhanced perspective? God is zooming. Are you ready to answer the call? God bless you.